to the film where it's like in the second half, like we said, it does get more comedic, as if he's trying to, repress the terrible, harrowing, dark feelings that happened in the first half of the film that he's obviously trying to escape. And so, that's very interesting.
Everybody fucking would. Jesus Christ. It's he does such a good job of making that first like 45 minutes just like, so like, get me fuck out of here. Like, it's like skin crawling.
Yeah, Pullman is so interesting in the interviews that he was giving for this movie. He seems so passionate about the character.
Did you watch the one where was it in the doc that we both watched, the one where he's like, so, sax guys, sex guys, sex gods? He literally made me like fall over out of my fucking chair.
He was in like the zone. You could tell that it felt like he was still like, it's like he just got off set and he was kind of like unable to really shake off the character fully.
What a line describing his character. He's a sax guy. He's a sex guy. He's a sex god.
And then he does this amazing thing where, and it's true, and I really do like his interpretation on it, where you hear that solo, that sax solo, and it's the most like violent and sporadic, and it's like the speediest, just like finger shredding thing I've ever heard somebody play on a saxophone. It just feels like
strobe lights are going off and you feel like your
rageful.
brain's going to explode.
Yeah, and he says that it's like, as he was playing that, he's saying it's like playing the sax like that is basically like cheating. So he was playing it as if he was retaliating from what he thinks Renee is doing, or the character of Renee. And you can just feel that really, because there's a lot of there's a lot of frustration in that, right? And you're playing an instrument. There's plenty of analogies for sex and the metaphor of sex and playing an instrument and all of that. So I just thought his interpretation of that was great, and having his mentality at that point, kind of channeling the character, really shines in that interview.
Yeah, no, I think Bill Pullman is fantastic. He was really excellent casting for this. A really interesting casting, because I mean, like, he was a Hollywood star in the 90s at that point. He had just co-starred with Will Smith in fucking Independence Day like a year earlier, and he was definitely more known for being like a more charming guy, a more romantic kind of comedic presence. And here, I do think that Lynch really plays his like handsome features for like a sense of hollowness and kind of weariness as the character of Fred here, this tenor sax jazz club musician. No, he's just kind of unpleasant and clearly like emotionally tormented. Like the first second you see him, that first shot where he's lit only by the drag of his cigarette, and you get into that really creepy establishing scene that the movie's also going to end on, where you hear the buzz at the front door and a disembodied voice just goes, "Dick Laurent is dead," and then it disappears, and he like goes over to the window to try to see it, and he couldn't see it, and there's just a tension and a dread and hostility to that interaction. It's the first interaction we see with him, and apparently this was also based on something that really happened to Lynch and freaked him out, that someone just came up to his buzzer and said that to him, and he was like, "It's going in a movie," because that just freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah, I can't stop thinking about it. That is something that I love about him too, is that it seems like he has these thoughts that are they're like almost obsessive, to the point of like, if I don't fucking put this on screen, I'll go insane. And I think that's a great way to therapeutically. It gives them a sense of
purpose. Like that's why I find the abstraction less frustrating, because I know that there's a real feeling. There's something that's been deeply thought about that's being put on the screen. Like even when you're just looking at sped up footage of like headlights ripping down the middle of a void like highway to fucking David Bowie screaming, "I'm deranged," Yep.
And it's those same things like when we were talking about the cheating anxiety. It's kind of like that when they start even splitting the identities of Patricia Arquette, who's also really fantastic in this.
She's so good in this. So good in this.
Yeah, it becomes that thing where you're also like viewing your partner as a different person now, and they're quite literally doing that with both of the lead characters here. So I think that's a really cool way of using his kind of abstract thought, but just channeling it into something that is still coherent and pretty easy to, I think, understand, narratively speaking, for the most part, And by the way, I just wanted to mention with Patricia Arquette, just on the opposite end of like Bill Pullman, who has that like, you know, the sex god line and everything in the interviews, she comes off as a lot more pulled back and relaxed, and that's so key to her character. I feel like, at least in the first half, because I think she even expressed, Patricia Arquette, I mean, expressed how she was a little nervous for being so exposed, but also wanted to play a dangerous character because it's somebody that she hasn't really played before prior to this part. And so it's cool to have her character literally do that, where she is the reserved, shy character that's kind of hiding something, and then in the second half she's just this complete beauty who's outgoing and
full
you know,
femme
taking
fatale,
charge.
like bombshell, like kind of
It's great. It's awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I was trying to think what Patricia Arquette I've seen before this. Like, I guess Nightmare on Elm
me
Street
too.
3 or like Ed Wood.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess the big one is True Romance, but which maybe is the closest thing that you could say, because she does. But I mean, that is also one where she's clearly playing the you know, there's something very sort of cute and flittery about that character and that performance. It's definitely different than playing how, you know, alienated she is as the wife to Bill Pullman's Fred, named Renee here, who is being like, I don't really want to go to your show because your show is like, oh, you having sex with a saxophone while strobe lights play. I'm going to stay at home and read.
And then she's so good at when she has to take the turn and become just like the anxiety version of like just what, you know, almost like the exaggerated femme fatale of, you know, the thing that a man would most fear, almost unrealistically conniving and all of that. She's great at that turn as well. So
yeah, no, she's fantastic. But I do like that the early stuff that's expected of, I mean, even kind of the both of them, is to just really live in what feels like a dead relationship in terms of and how that even manifests in like the